What's good, YouTube? This is Tony. I'm here with Moose and we're reacting to the rise of Stray Kids, JYP Entertainment's real secret weapon.
Stray Kids have gone from survival show group to worldwide sensation in just a few short years. They've sold over 10 million albums, becoming the first JYP act to have one album sell over 1 million copies with No Easy. Time magazine recognized Backdoor as one of the 10 best songs of 2020. They are also the third Korean act ever to top the Billboard 200 in the USA. But why? What makes Stray Kids so special, and why should you care? What's up, friends? I'm Jonathan Miller, and welcome back to Jonathan Miller Music, where we help each other become better artists. Stray Kids has become a dominating boy group in the K-pop world that is still on its meteoric rise in popularity, sitting on the cusp of K-pop's ending third generation and budding fourth generation. Stray Kids is a unique group not only for its genetic makeup, but as an everlasting product of the time in which they debuted with JYP. JYP Entertainment is one of the biggest entertainment companies in K-pop, and for good reason. Aside from the many memes about the company and JYP himself, there's a reason why the company has the presence that it does now in K-pop and the music industry as a whole. So let's roll back the clocks a little bit. Established in 1997, originally as Taehong Planning Corporation during the Asian financial crisis by Park Jin-young, JYP Entertainment has grown into a multinational conglomerate.
When you started this whole record label, did you ever picture that it would get this?
Oh, I know this guy. He's a K-pop idol too.
JYP was an artist, producer, and songwriter before creating the company, dropping multiple studio albums, and one of the biggest South Korean hits of 1994, Don't Leave Me. During his college years, he frequently lived with and became friends with other producers and composers, including Bang Si-hyuk, who would eventually go on to launch the icons you might have heard of, BTS. The two of them worked closely with one another for a number of years, including helping to launch G.O.D's first studio album in 1999 with Citus HQ. Even though it was initially a struggle as the strain of the Asian financial crisis
I never knew this guy was the owner of JYP.
Luckily, following its successful launch with JYP as their mentor, G.O.D became a well-known act in K-pop. After signing Rain in 2000, however, is when Taehong Planning Corporation put itself on the map. Rebranding as the JYP Entertainment we know today, Rain became one of the biggest acts in all of K-pop, and in all of Asia when its Raining sold over 250,000 copies, an uncommon and massive feat for a South Korean act. K-pop was clearly starting to spread. The mid-2000s saw a rapid growth in technology and the internet. McBling fashion, cell phone culture, and electropop began to be the dominating sound in music throughout the remainder of the decade. Another force of the 2000s in the new era of celebrity culture that began to make waves with the public around the globe were reality TV shows. Television itself was introduced to Korea in the early 1950s by the Radio Corporation of America, or RCA, during the Korean War. In 1956, Korea set up its first television broadcasting station, HLKZ-TV, which eventually was acquired by Hanguk Pangsong Kongsa, or KBS-1 TV, as you probably know.
Try saying it. Let me listen to it again.
Television broadcasting station, HLKZ-TV, which eventually was acquired by Hanguk Pangsong
Kongsa.
It's hard as fuck
or
to say.
KBS-1 TV, as you probably know it. Throughout President Park Chung-hee's authoritarian government, many restrictions were placed on what television content creators were allowed to produce, carefully balancing entertainment and propaganda until freedom of the press and media was established in 1989 with the registration of periodicals and the broadcast act. Fast forward to when Korea was in the throes of the Asian financial crisis in the 90s, television began to shift towards comfort and fun types of entertainment, often including music-oriented programs. Programs combining emotional, talk show, and observational aspects came into being around this time, fusing them together. Much like how K-pop music combines multiple genres in one song today. These TV programs came to be known as Korean variety shows, with one of the first centering around JYP.
That's crazy hair, bro. Look at this hair. Look at this hair. That's crazy. I wish I had hair like that, bro.
This was cool.
Yeah, this is still cool in my eyes.
Centering around JYP and Citus HQ group G.O.D in the form of Baby Diary. Although originally pitched to HOT, Korea watched as Baby Jaemin was taken care of by the members, and its high ratings helped the group gain more notoriety and JYP Entertainment as a company. Variety shows continued to grow and grow as reality TV took over the 2000s around the world, as I previously mentioned. JYP's next massive group, which which deserves their own deep dive editorial like this one someday in the future, Wonder Girls were introduced to the world through MTV Wonder Girls in 2006. Eventually, JYP's first girl group became the first Korean group ever to break through in the USA when their hit Nobody debuted at number 79 on the Billboard Hot 100 back when streaming wasn't a thing, let alone counted toward the US's toughest chart to get on. JYP expanded out past Asia and launched JYP Entertainment USA in 2008 as Wonder Girls became an opening act for the Jonas Brothers and eventually getting their own movie with Teen Nick.
Wait! We can't call ourselves the Wonder Girls. What if we can recognize?
The Wonder Girls deserve their credit for how they affected the Hallyu wave. And truthfully, JYP Entertainment deserves its credit for helping to realize the vision of K-pop's success outside of Korea. Fast forward a little further, courtesy of YouTube and social media, K-pop acts began to go viral on the internet as the 2010s opened up, eventually ushering in K-pop's third generation. By this time, Korean variety shows were a staple for K-pop acts to participate in, allowing the public to get to know their favorite idols in funny, meme-worthy, and emotional ways. Variety shows also encompassed things like talent shows. This gave the public not only the chance to get to know their favorite idols more, but also be introduced to K-pop trainees, even getting a say and directly voting on who could join the next big group.
So they vote and shit, like they make the groups from teenage years?
Yeah, they make the groups. They call trainees. So they train for so long. Then
Just to be idols, right?
yeah, but then people can maybe it's people who was trainees for BTS and they never made it to BTS.
Yeah.
It's like on sports. A lot of people train, but not all people make it pro.
It's like a whole ass,
Yeah.
like an NBA draft and shit.
You know how V's history was with BTS? His friend called him and he said, "I'm going to BTS for they called me. I'm going as a trainee." So he said to V, "Can you come with me just so you don't leave me alone?"
And
V
he got
went there.
accepted.
He got accepted. His friend didn't get accepted. And his friend went on social media talking shit about V.
That's
And
crazy.
the boy didn't do shit. They just saw V and saw potential in him.
Yeah, that's
The
crazy.
entertainment saw the potential in that international growth, creating the first Japanese line in K-pop with 3 Japanese members for Twice, adding Chinese and American members to GOT7. Survival shows like Who Is Next and 16 got the public involved and drew more audiences into JYP Entertainment groups. Although at this time already considered one of the big 3 companies in K-pop, JYP still struggled financially to get ahead of its competitors in YG and SM. The internet was making K-pop stars viral sensations, something that was still pretty difficult to do in the early days of social media in the mid-2000s, but JYP was keeping its eye on that change, and reaching distribution deals with other countries set the stage for JYP's next global sensation in the form of a 9-member boy group named Stray
So there's
Kids.
9.
But first, a shout out to this video sponsor, DistroKid. DistroKid is one of the leading music distributors certified to as they the fast butter, the long and YouTube wheelchair like service. Use my in the description. Beginning as a survival show in 2017 of the same name, rather than trying to make it to the end past elimination rounds and be voted on by the public to debut as a group like 16, which launched twice, Stray Kids The Show featured a group that was pre-selected and judged by JYP on individual skill and unexpected teamwork missions. Selected not exactly by JYP, but by its eventual leader, Pyeongchun. Coming from experience in ballet and modern dance, Bong Christopher Chun passed the JYP auditions in 2010 and moved from Australia to South Korea, where he trained for 7 years. Pyeongchun trained alongside members of Twice, GOT7, Day 6, and has spoken about how
Twice
lonely
is from
he got
JYP
watching
too?
his friends debut or leave the company. Still determined though, he enrolled in MIDI classes to learn more about music production. MIDI stands for Music Instrument Digital Interface, and essentially deals with the technical side of connecting multiple music devices, instruments, and computers, and all the audio equipment that's used to record and edit music. In other words, it's a technical standard set up in 1983, so that audio recording devices and instruments like synthesizers and computers all know how to communicate with one another. It's big brain energy, which Bangtan used to form 3RACHA and drop music as a trainee. Another member of 3RACHA, Han,
So he created like 2 different groups as a trainee himself, bro. That's talent,
crazy.
bro. That's talent. Yeah, bro.
You're studying in Malaysia.
To be
eventually
honest, to be
graduating
completely honest, the way he talking so good, I can understand it.
You
I'm
cannot
not used-
understand it?
I'm not used to people explaining things on details like this. I don't be understanding shit sometimes.
I'm gonna explain it to you, bro. I'm gonna explain it to you along the way.
Alright.
He took a year off and told his parents plans to give him 1 year to get signed to a K-pop agency, and if he didn't get signed, he'd return to Malaysia. However, nearing the end of his 1 year, his friend convinced him to audition for JYP, which he reluctantly did, thinking there was no way he'd get in, but he did. Shout out to that friend. As part of Sriracha, he released his first mixtape with his group mates in 2017. If you're not familiar, a mixtape is a little bit different from an album or an EP, and is a term originating from the 1980s to describe a homemade compilation of songs on a cassette. However, mixtapes in this context come from black R&B and hip-hop culture to describe a self-produced and independently released, oftentimes for free, collection of music by an artist. Usually less cohesive in sound than a regular album, and containing any number of tracks, whereas studio albums used to typically contain, on average, anywhere from 10 to 14 songs. Mixtapes are often dropped underground, and used to showcase many different talents or different sounds on one body of work from an artist. Nowadays, because of streaming freeing artists from the runtime and data limitations of a physical CD, the hard line between album and mixtape often gets blurred, but there is a difference. Anyway, Han trained at JYP for 3 years, where he met the final member
I
of
never knew
Sriracha,
the difference
Tommy.
between the
Han
album and the
Bin, who was
mixtape.
told by Young Hyun-suk of YG Entertainment that he was one
I
of
got
the
in an
best
argument
rappers
with a
he'd
friend
heard from
once.
JYP. Once
Or
performed
what
at
is a
school
mixtape
festival
or
in
not?
Daejeon, Sri
Oh,
Lanka.
shit.
Upon being accepted into JYP Entertainment, his supportive parents called him a genius and said had they known he was so good, they would have gotten him into music earlier and more seriously. Sungbin trained at JYP for about 2 years, and together with Bangtan and Han, Sriracha would go on to primarily write and produce nearly all of Stray Kids' music, something that doesn't happen very often in K-pop. The trio would also eventually be promoted to regular members of the Korea Music Copyright Association in 2023, a non-profit organization that exists to support its members' copyrighted content by protecting their intellectual property rights. Each year, based on the
A thing on Stray Kids compared to other groups, how they started, they got a very, I don't know if it's difficult or complicated, the way how they started.
Yeah.
It's fucking complicated, bro.
They didn't expect nothing. It's like One Direction. You know how One Direction was created?
No.
They basically went to X Factor alone.
Yeah.
Each of them went alone, and like Simon Cowell just said randomly, let's grab these 5 boys and let's get them together in a band, bro. And they became One Direction, the biggest band like in the world.
I never listened to one song from One Direction.
One Direction is crazy.
Yeah,
Bro, they go crazy.
I know, but I never.
amount of royalties
Never
they
was a fan,
accrued
I
in the
never
past
heard of
3
it.
years. The
For so long.
KOMCA promotes 25 junior members to regulars, which then gives them the right to vote at the KOMCA general
I think
meetings.
every like BTS and K-pop fan used to be at least at one time a One Direction fan, bro.
Yeah.
Like shout out to the One Direction girls that listen to that type of music.
See, the One Direction is hairstyle. Zayn.
Nail, Zayn, this other guy that got like addicted to cocaine and shit.
What's the guy? Mendes.
No. Shawn Mendes,
Shawn
that's
Mendes.
completely different artist.
Shawn Mendes is not on.
No. And we gotta do an introduction to One Direction for you.
They gone. One Direction is gone.
Nah, but we're gonna do a One Direction introduction because you need to know them. They're
I
fire.
saw a video about One Direction and BTS that was comparing some, but I never understood shit about One Direction.
One Direction is big, bro.
I know they disbanded.
big.
I know they disbanded.
Really,
Fun
really
fact,
big.
the first
Yeah.
K-pop musician
I hate them
to be
'cause they was
promoted
getting
to
all the
regular
girls.
member was G-Dragon in 2011, and other
So they
artists now
also
include
got a rapper,
Suga,
yeah?
RM, J-Hope, Uzi, Boa, and IU. Another member of Stray Kids, Woojin, graduated from the School of Performing Arts, Seoul, and was originally a trainee under SM Entertainment, training alongside members of NCT. Originally a main vocalist in Stray Kids, he eventually left the group for personal reasons and went on to pursue a successful solo career with his debut solo mini album dropping in 2021. Sungbin lived a short time in LA where he learned a bit of English while in the 4th grade. He eventually came in second at JYP Entertainment's 13th open audition, where he never missed a day of training and only trained for about a year before joining Stray Kids. Sungbin, also known as IN, is the maknae and youngest member of Stray Kids. As a kid, he often performed Korean trop music. Stemming from the Japanese occupation of Korea, trop music comes from the word foxtrot, which is a style of vocal
fucking God,
dance.
you're going
But
on
Korean
history.
trop music's signature sound involves
I'm not this-
repetitive
but it's
rhythms
cool,
and
bro.
vocal flexing.
Yeah, it's
IN
cool,
was
but it's
also
fuck
a
too hard
model
for my
as a
brain,
kid
bro.
before joining
I'm not
JYP
as smart,
Entertainment,
bro.
where he trained for 2 years. Eventually, as a member of Stray Kids, he dropped the bop that is Maknae on top, which, by the way, in case you've never heard it, if you happen to be the youngest member of your family like I am, consider it your new life anthem. Hyunjin actually has always loved singing and participated in many competitions. He and his family moved to Las Vegas, Nevada for a brief time when he was 6 years old before moving back to Korea. One day, while shopping with his mother, he was grabbed by the wrist by a JYP scout and handed a business card to audition. Originally creeped out and skeptical, rightfully so, he eventually did go to the audition where he passed and trained for 2 years. Lino started dancing in middle school and was actually featured in a National Geographic segment long before he joined JYP.
Any one of these hopefuls could be the next big thing in K-pop.
And he was
a backup dancer for BTS on their Japan tour and even was a featured dancer in BTS's music video for Not Today. Lino trained at JYP for a year before actually being eliminated during the Stray Kids show in episode 4. Another member who was eliminated on the show was Felix. Felix once told GQ Australia that he didn't expect a person like him who was already trying to be like Bangtan to be picked by him to potentially join the group. Also coming from Australia and only training for about a year, Felix had difficulty with learning Korean, which contributed to his elimination in the 8th episode. However, in a surprise twist perfect for reality television, JYP gave Felix and Lino another chance to see if Stray Kids would debut as a 7-member group or a 9-member group, ultimately becoming the latter. Their pre-debut song "Elevator,"
9 people in a group is
on the
crazy,
show,
bro.
Yeah, but you gotta share everything 9
in
times.
November 2017.
Nah, it's not about
Stray
sharing,
Kids was
but it's
officially
like
on their way to
crazy
launch
9
a brand new
people
generation of
working on a
K-pop.
song.
The third generation of K-pop is a rather unique one because it's largely where K-pop acts began to really break through in the West. As millennials got older and many Gen 2 groups began to disband or go on hiatus, newer acts at the time like Red Velvet, Twice, BTS, Blackpink, and more captured the attention of coming-of-age Gen Z. Twitter was flooded with fan cams spreading the word about their favorite groups. YouTube became more intrinsic to music culture after Psy's Gangnam Style became the first video ever to pass 1 billion views. Social media challenges, BTS collaborating with Halsey and other Western acts, or Blackpink and Dua Lipa helped thrust open the eyes of Western audiences to K-pop. Gen 3 acts were tasked with a very tricky challenge of trying to spread Korean culture, but also trying to figure out how to rapidly adapt to the Western market, which has notoriously not been very welcoming to Eastern acts. But not just in the West, though, because K-pop's popularity was growing everywhere.
The thing with K-pop in the West was that fans and people loved it, but the
How do you
industry,
explain it to someone, yeah?
but the industry didn't like. So the fans from United States and Europe liked BTS, K-pop, Blackpink, Stray Kids, whoever. But when it came to Billboard Awards, Grammy Awards, they would create new categories just to not let them win the.
Yeah, but like that's always been a thing, like with Grammys and shit, because you see when Kendrick made like the best album of the year, Cardi B won it. When Astro World was made, Cardi B won it again.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy. That's absolutely.
But
horrendous.
still, they was on the game. They was competing. They didn't even let them compete. They would create a whole new
category.
category.
I get it.
They would be like
That's racist, man. That's very racist.
They just have their own interest in it, and I don't like that.
They shouldn't get involved with art, bro. Art is art.
And they manipulate the stats, radio stats.
I can imagine. I can actually imagine because I've seen this happen.
They manipulate radio views, streams, everything they manipulate. On Spotify too.
Tencent using entertainment to launch Boy Story, a Chinese-based boy group in 2016. Twice was beginning to crush it in Japan, becoming one of the most popular K-pop girl groups over there, behind acts like Kara and Girls' Generation. The global stage was set, and Stray Kids was ready to help JYP Nation knock every last remaining border down. As K-pop began to grow, so did misconceptions surrounding it. People called K-pop idols robots or manufactured once they found out about their training regime, and they were incorrectly criticized for not writing their own music.
Like that, what's crazy is because like Korea and these type of Asian places, have it set up that you can make it as an artist and something. And what do people in the West do? They call them robots. They call them everything that's racist because like they work for it. It's better if you can work for it as an artist. Like I'd rather be like appreciated, trained how to do something, and actually have a chance to do something than just going off pure luck and just like blowing up out of thin air.
It's like those.
When you're an artist, like
I'm not going to call them artists. It's like those people that blow up on TikTok. They do some fuck shit. They don't even do music. I'm Alan boy. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So they appreciate that more than people who work 16 hours a day. Do you know how much is 16 hours a day? I saw BTS work 12 to 16 hours a day to make it, and you're going to fucking judge that. It's fucking crazy.
I call them robots. Why? Because they're giving it their all to become.
You can say your music is not good.
That's just hating.
Music. Yeah.
That's just hating. Oh God, that's just hating.
Alright, bet, and introduced a boy group that practically had full creative control over its work, writing, producing, and arranging nearly all of their own music, and it worked. Stray Kids won Best Male Artist at the 2018 Mamas and Best New Artist at the 33rd Golden Disc Awards. They got a Disc Song for Performance of the Year at the 2021 Asia Artist Awards and were crowned World K-Pop Star at the Circle Chart Music Awards in 2022. Their debut album, I Am Not, was eventually certified platinum for sales exceeding 250,000 copies. Their first Japanese single, Top, debuted at #1 on the Oricon Singles Chart, making Stray Kids only the 4th K-pop male artist in history to debut at the top of the chart. Their collaboration with Alesso and DJ Korsek for Going Dumb for PUBG landed them at number 13 on the Billboard Hot Dance and Electronic Chart. The music video for Thunderous hit 100 million views on YouTube in 55 days, and they topped the Billboard 200 chart with Ordinary, making them the 3rd K-pop boy group behind BTS and Super M to achieve that. Stray Kids, in a testament to their global popularity and K-pop's global expansion, became the first JYP artist to ever have an album sell over 1 million copies, when Noisy sold over 1.1 million in its first month. Furthermore, they also became JYP's first double million selling artist and triple million selling artist after dropping Maxident in 2022, making them the second fastest artist.
They saw 1.1 million in a month, so that's 30 days. They sold like 30,000 in a day, bro. 30,000 a day.
In Hong Kong history to have an album reach 2 million copies sold, doing so in just 6 days. Maxident also the second highest first week sales total in 6 century to have an album
2 million
in 2022, making them the second fastest artist in Hangzhou history to have an album reach 2 million copies sold, doing so in just 6 days.
And they the first ones to do it
the
ever.
second highest first week sales total in Hangzhou history, achieving 2 consecutive #1 albums in the US and becoming the 4th Korean and non-English album to top the Billboard 200. Stray Kids has now sold over 10 million albums worldwide. It's because of this success and label-mate Twice's popularity that JYP Entertainment entered into a historic and landmark relationship with Republic Records, signing Twice, ITZY, and Stray Kids to its roster. Being signed to multiple record labels is a fairly common practice in the music industry because, depending on the business arrangement, all parties will offer something different for the artist. For example, it's really common for K-pop artists to sign with Japanese record labels like Avex because Avex helps in Japanese album distribution, helping to get media placements, tours, and other promotions. The same goes for Republic Records. Republic is a well-known record label here in the USA and has a fairly good reputation for how it treats its artists, which includes people like Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, Nicki Minaj, Drake, Post Malone, and many others. A joint venture like this is significant for K-pop, not only because it signifies the USA's growing acceptance of the genre, but it's also a sign that JYP's initial vision of K-pop becoming a global phenomenon is finally becoming a reality. Stray Kids gets the magnificent task of charting new waters where K-pop is already a known thing. Given their success so far, and the fact that they are set to become the first Korean act to headline Lollapalooza in France soon, Stray Kids is showing that just because everyone knows what K-pop is now, doesn't mean there aren't new barriers and walls to dismantle. Stray Kids is a product of the time they debuted and the legacy that developed before them, but they are also spearheading the charge to ensure that legacy isn't lost. Stray Kids writes their own music to showcase that Korea isn't producing robots, it's producing real and unmatched talent that deserves to be heard. Stray Kids helped their own label finally surpass SM and YG, becoming the largest of the big three just 5 months after debuting in 2018, helping JYP Entertainment achieve $980.26 million in market capitalization. It's because
That's
of acts
close to
like
a
Stray
billion.
Kids that JYP has his artists dominating the West, acts like Niju in Japan, or NMIX reaching Spanish-speaking audiences now. Stray Kids also pays it forward by providing
And
a
like
safe
when you get
space
to the
for their
Spanish side, like it's crazy. They watch videos like crazy.
And it's a big ass audience.
Habla español, te quiero muchos español.
fans
fuck
writing
is
songs
that?
with gender
Aló, muchas
neutral
gracias,
programs,
afición.
experimenting with fashion. They donate to causes, more recently with Hyunjin and Changbin both donating 100
Damn,
million
man, they're
Korean
good
won
people,
to
bro.
victims of the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria. K-pop has now become a
Well,
global
what?
phenomenon.
But when they happen,
causes,
bro,
more
crazy.
They
recently
donate to
with
cause
Hyunjin
one-
and Changbin both donating 100 million Korean won to
100 million
victims of the
Korean won.
earthquakes in
This
Turkey
is like
and
a
Syria.
lot of money.
K-pop has now become a
100
global
million is
phenomenon,
like-
and Stray Kids is leading its fourth generation by not abandoning the work that was done before them.
Yeah,
Despite
that's
popular
cool,
belief,
bro.
Stray Kids is not trying to take BTS's place.
I don't even think they
Growing
can,
to
bro.
ensure that
Nobody
K-pop
can.
doesn't
What?
get written off.
Nobody can take BTS's place in
No,
K-pop.
nobody
Like,
can take.
They wrote, they implanted themselves. bro.
Nobody can take your place. Everybody got
Yeah.
their own audience, their own.
Their own shit. Bro.
Yeah.
A meaningless viral sensation.
You can grow
They are a
bigger
time
maybe,
capsule
but
of
you
the
cannot take
survival show
someone's
generation,
place.
bridging the gap between the past and the future to ensure that K-pop's success around the world isn't forgotten, and that's why Stray Kids' success matters. It's why their artistry matters, and why Stray Kids everywhere, all around the world, makes Stray Kids stay.
Yeah, and it was
Nah,
cool,
Stray
bro.
Kids has
this-
gone from
This video was crazy because I never knew it was so much complicated for them like this. I don't know. It was unexpected things happening all the time.
And then it just showed like the K-pop industry from way before, bro. I really like this video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it shows how hard it is on K-pop. It's not just go do a song and blow up. That's not how it works on K-pop.
If you like this video, like and subscribe. See y'all next time.